Congressman Mike Waltz. Congressman, good to see you. Happy New Year. What is going on in Florida? I mean, is this a political hit against Florida by the Biden administration?
Yeah, who knows? We're playing the guessing game again in Florida. But I have to tell you that the treatments have been incredibly popular. Over 100,000 Floridians have received them as we navigate this pandemic. And so the reasoning that apparently the administration is putting out is that these treatments like Regeneron are not effective against Omicron. But I haven't seen that in official CDC guidance. I haven't seen the CDC officially pull back its recommendation to use these treatments. So it really does lead us to wonder. And the frustration from Florida's Surgeon General is that earlier this year, the administration bought up all of these treatments at the federal level, which effectively prevented the states from buying them to treat our own citizens. And again, it's this back and forth, wish-wash, flip-flop that's just so frustrating for many. Every provider should be able to provide these treatments if they decide that that's what's warranted.
Well, we have Dr. Marty McCary on a little later in the show. We're going to ask him about this. But as far as I understand it, the Regeneron itself is still very effective in treating other variants. And there are still people getting sick, not just by Omicron, but by Delta. Delta is still around. It's much diminished. It's been overrun by Omicron in many places. But a lot of people that are in hospitals are sick with Delta, and they're the people that could have been treated with a Regeneron. So, and their hospitals, by the way, you guys have more of this treatment than we do in New York. There are hospitals in New York who have zero, absolutely zero in terms of monoclonal antibodies.
And just very quickly, I mean, to your point, yes, it's been overrun by Omicron in terms of cases, but we need to stay focused on hospitalizations. And unfortunately, what deaths that we have. That's where our focus needs to be, and that's where we should apply the treatments. And to your point, from everything we're seeing, the Omicron cases are relatively mild, particularly amongst the vaccinated.
Absolutely.
Let's quit talking cases and talk what's actually getting people sick and what do they need. What does the provider recommend, not bureaucrats in Washington?
Exactly. And you know, we have a president. This is a president who just said earlier this week that it's up to the states. So he says it's up to the states, but then he has the federal mandates, and he tries to actively prevent the governor of Florida from using therapeutics that he knows will be good for his people. And you say 100,000 people were treated. That potentially means that thousands and thousands of people could have died if your governor had not stockpiled these treatments. And by the way, he did something that was really remarkable. He made a deal with GlaxoSmithKline, because even the people who say that Regeneron doesn't work against Omicron say that Glaxo's version of this treatment does work. Your Florida governor made a deal with Glaxo, the company, to use state funds to buy up some of those antibodies that the federal government, as far as I understand, doesn't control. So there are a lot of people. That's why the death numbers, even though your infection rates are greater than New York, your death numbers per capita are lower than New York.
You know, I'm certainly pro-vaccine, and we put it out there, but we focus on our elderly. But we should also have treatments. We should have testing. We should have a fulsome whole of government approach here.
Again, the federal government should not be interfering with state decisions because you guys know what your people want more than the people inside the Beltway. All right, I want to switch, if I can, to foreign policy, because right now, as you and I are speaking, President Biden is talking to President Putin. And they're talking about Nord Stream. They're talking about probably Ukraine. Will we ever find out exactly what they're talking about right now? Because we didn't get a complete readout the last time.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get one this time, too. But I know what Putin wants to talk about, and those are his demands. He wants to dictate where we put our troops, where NATO puts their troops, who can become a member of NATO. And he essentially has backed himself into a win-win situation here. Either he dictates those terms, or he continues or possibly even moves forward with another invasion of Ukraine. Look, he's doing this because he knows he can. He knows he can get away with it. He got away with it under Obama, Biden, and believes he can again. And if Nord Stream 2 goes into actual operation, the construction's done, but the new German government hasn't flipped the switch on it yet, he can bypass Eastern Europe, bypass Ukraine, starve them of their energy supplies in the winter while making West Germany dependent. What Biden needs to be doing is saying sanctions will go in place now. Lethal aid is moving now to raise the cost for Putin, and that we're going to continue to allow the Congress to move forward with sanctions on Nord Stream 2, and then begin to negotiate from a position of strength. But once again, we're seeing this administration go to the table from a position of weakness.
Well, and they gave it away. They gave away our one big bargaining chip, which we had in those sanctions against Nord Stream. And in May, they just simply gave it up. They ended it. They flipped that policy that Trump had administered, because they flipped any policy, even if it worked. And now we're at the mercy. As you said, Putin gave Biden an ultimatum on Ukraine, saying Ukraine can never enter NATO. It's not up to Biden. It's up to NATO and the Ukraine. But now we receive an ultimatum. Do you think that Biden is going to appease Putin by giving in to his ultimatum?
Well, and I was just out in the Ukraine visiting with both our great soldiers that are training the Ukrainians, but then also with the Ukrainians themselves. And they're throwing up their hands saying, you know, your president saying he'll take tough measures after Putin invades doesn't exactly make the Ukrainians sleep well at night. But the other piece here is our energy policy. And we've gone from energy independence to now back to dependence. Russia and Putin get most of its revenue from oil and gas. And with prices so high, they're cash flush right now. So again, he's doing this because he smells weakness in this White House and because he thinks he can get away with it.
So do you think that Biden is going to appease him on the NATO issue?
Well, that takes a NATO consensus. I don't think he'll appease him there, but I do think he's going to try to appease him in other ways, particularly financially and in the oil and gas sector, because that's this administration's approach. It's their approach to Iran, it's their approach to China, and it's their approach to Putin.
Well, you said it before.
And it was their approach under Obama, Biden.
It's like a redux. It's like a redux of what happened in 2014. We are leading from behind. Remember that old phrase? I mean, we're back to leading from behind. And when you lead from behind, you get kicked in the rear end. I mean, that's my philosophy. Congressman, great to see you. Have a wonderful New Year. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year. Thanks so much.